Hi, and welcome to the Path to Profit podcast. I'm Brad Dobson with my co-host, Minette Riordan, Dr. Minette Riordan.
And did you notice we changed things up?
Yeah, a friend
We're
of
actually sitting in the same room together. So for those of you that have been following us, we actually sat in the same room instead of across the house from each other.
Yeah, a friend of mine asked, wow, how come you guys are in different rooms? And I said, well, it's kind of a microphone issue. And actually what I said was it's a marital issue. And he kind of laughed. But anyways, we are thrilled to have a rock star with us today, Sam Bennett. Do you like Samantha or Sam Bennett better?
Either way, whatever trips off the tongue more easily for you. I answer to all things.
Awesome. Well, welcome, Sam.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Minette. Hi, everybody.
Go ahead.
So go ahead. Yeah, so totally unscripted. So if you've been listening the last couple of weeks, thanks to Neil Ball from The Entrepreneur's Way, we love the idea of starting with a quote. So today we have an awesome quote for you. You must hold your own hand, talk yourself off of whatever ledges you find yourself on, reward yourself with lots of treats, surround yourself with a few compatriots who will acknowledge your efforts, and then keep walking. And that quote is from our very own Samantha Bennett, our guest today.
We love the way you capture your quotes on graphics and post them on Facebook all the time. That's a great idea.
Thank you. Yeah, and honestly, it was a big lesson for me in surrender and team, because actually almost none of those are designed by me. Almost all of them are done by my team. And because I realized I wanted to do it, like I realized I had quotes, I had things from the books and things that people would say back to me or things that I said a lot in my teaching. And then I got immediately stuck. I'm like, well, but what should they look like? And I don't know. And maybe it should look like this, or maybe it should be that way. And finally I just went, you have a team. Let them do it.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't matter what they look like. Just get it out of the house. So and then if it needs to look better later, we can make them look better later. Like,
did you pull all the quotes first, or are they pulling the quotes?
They pull them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they got my book. They've got all the blog posts. They just, whatever looks interesting to them is what I have them put up.
Awesome. Okay, so I need to talk to my team.
Yeah.
About making that happen.
Team,
so before
me.
we get too much deeper into the conversation, for everybody that's listening, Brad's going to share a little bit about Sam and who she is and why we're having her on the show today, other than just being a really awesome friend and a total trooper for helping us get this podcast going.
That's the truth. I got to put my old man glasses on for this. So, Sam's bio. Originally from Chicago, Samantha Bennett is a writer, speaker, actor, teacher, and creativity/productivity specialist, and the author of the bestselling Get It Done, From Procrastination to Creative Genius in 15 Minutes a Day. There it is. For those of you on YouTube, beautiful orange book. Her latest book is Start Right Where You Are, How Little Changes Can Make a Big Difference for Overwhelmed Procrastinators, Frustrated Overachievers, and Recovering Perfectionists. And that's coming out by New World Library on November 15th. Sam is the creator of both theorganizedartistcompany.com, dedicated to helping creative people get unstuck. And that includes speaking, especially by helping them focus and move forward on their goals. Now based in a tiny beach town outside of Los Angeles, California. Carpinteria! Woo!
Carpinteria! Woo!
Sam offers workshops, keynotes, and private consulting. She also makes a heck of a roast chicken, which we are going to take you up on.
It's true.
I think the other thing that I found really cool about Sam is that she is a Second City alum out of Chicago. And so I'm kind of starstruck, which is really cool. Sam knows all sorts of cool people.
I do. It's like I went to graduate school, or like I went to college with all the famous comedy people in the world. It's a wonderful thing. It makes watching television a very intimate experience.
I'll bet. Well, and it's neat to think that you can bring that level of comedy and acting training to what you do professionally now.
Oh, everything. The best training for entrepreneurship in the world is a lifetime in the theater, for sure.
And could you just share a little bit, Sam, about your entrepreneurial journey? Because it's been a while since you made the sort of official formal switch.
Yeah.
To entrepreneur. So tell us a little bit about
Yeah,
how
so
you got from.
we're getting guest appearance. This is Cooper. Hi, Cooper.
Oh, hi, Cooper. And her adorable cat, and you have.
Adorable cats, and now Chester's coming in too. They get very curious. Here, there's the other adorable.
If you're listening on iTunes, go check out YouTube and see her beautiful kitty.
Because they're pretty cute. Okay, so my entrepreneurial journey, yes, is completely inadvertent. I completely sideways. I was an actor. I grew up as an actor. I was one of those kids who was putting on shows and did all the school plays and went to theater camp, and like that was my jam. And I had one of those acting careers that, it went well. I still work as an actor. It still goes well. I just got a residual check the other day for Days of Our Lives. Like, it's still happening. But it always went sort of just well enough that you don't want to give up on it, but not so well as to be able to support a person. So that meant that my life was just this endless round of shows and auditions and projects and gigs and part-time jobs and semi-full-time jobs and under-the-table jobs. And
Right.
Creatively, it was really fun and satisfying. Financially, it was disastrous, and I was exhausted all the time.
Starving actor.
Starving actor. And along the way, I just got really interested in this question of how do creative people make decisions? When you could do anything, how do you pick what to do? And especially, creatives and entrepreneurs, we've got so many talents and skills, like there's a lot of options. And, when there's no quarterly review on how your novel's going, there's no corner office if you get your one-woman show up, right? So it's hard. It's hard to know what to do. It's hard to stay motivated. And especially when the entire culture is saying, starving artist, you'll never make it.
Yeah.
Get something sensible to fall back on.
Right.
So I started teaching a class called Get It Done in 99 or 2000 or something. I was charging like 15 people in a church basement, and I might have been charging $175. I mean,
Sure.
Yeah. And then I realized in early 2009, I all of a sudden went, wait a minute, I wonder if I could do this organized artist company thing full time. And then I thought, I guess I should get business cards. I knew nothing. I knew nothing about entrepreneurship. I knew nothing about business, but I learned really fast and became an Infusionsoft consultant and reseller pretty fast. I learned Infusionsoft fast, which helped me a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
That's such a great story. And so, the name of the show is The Path to Profit. And I love that you touched on that idea, or Brad brought it up, of being the starving artist. And I think it's my belief that some of the great artists that we have that myth, I think of Van Gogh always as the reason he was starving was not that he wasn't a brilliant artist. It was that he didn't care about selling his art, right? He truly didn't care. He was so passionate about making art. That was his focus. So artists starve because we're more focused on our creative pursuits than we are on making a living. We tend not to pay attention to the numbers. So I'm curious, in your own journey to getting on and staying on and now being really successful in your business, financially doing well, getting the clients that you want, getting ready to publish your second book. So exciting. And I know we're going to hear more about that. What have been some of those turning points, learning points for you from a money perspective and just getting to know your numbers perspective?
Yeah, so some of it was mindset stuff, absolutely, and really getting in touch with the fact that there's tons of money in the world. It's as though I was living in it. How it is when your kitchen sink has a drip. It was as though my kitchen sink had a drip, and I just thought that was all the water there was in the world. That's all I can get is just this little drip. That's it.
Yeah.
No, there's a faucet.
Yeah.
You can turn it on and you can fill up the sink or the tub or the pool or 100 pools. You cannot use up all the water in the world.
Right.
Even in the drought in California, I personally cannot use up all the water in the world.
Yeah.
So to really get in touch with that recognition that there's tons of money in the world, there's tons of clients, there's no shortage anywhere, they're right in front of you.
Yeah.
And I would do stuff like I would tuck dollar bills just everywhere. In my glove thing, in my car, in pockets, in drawers, in the pencil thing. So it just felt like every time I turned around, I was like, oh, look, another dollar. Oh, look, there's just money everywhere.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
It sounds a little silly, but it really worked.
It doesn't sound silly at all, actually.
Yeah, we see this so many times with our clients where it's the mindset around money. And in fact, I'm seeing it with myself quite a bit lately. The mindset around money is more, by far, the biggest challenge to actually making more money.
Absolutely. And I had a series of really good coaches. I mean, I don't know how anybody does this without coaching. Like yeah. I mean, I still pay a fortune out to coaches, and happily I would pay them twice because you don't know what you don't know, and you can't see what you can't see, you know? And yeah, I remember when my coach made me double my prices, and when we finally put my private sessions up to $750 a session, and I was like, and I called my VA, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to sit here with my head between my knees. If you would just change that pricing to $750 and try to make the page look like something that somebody would pay $700 for. But when you understand that, and this sounds so weird, I know, but I know you guys know what I mean, charging more actually helps them.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was just talking to a nutritionist the other day who's been in the business for, I don't know, 25, 30 years. And she's like, I'll tell you what, she goes, I used to try and give stuff away. And of course, we all want to be generous. We want to help everybody. She says, but I'm here to tell you, if they don't pay, they don't heal.
Yeah. And that's true whether it's nutrition, health and wellness, spirit, mindset, or business. It doesn't matter.
Because it's an energetic exchange, like a lot of energetic exchanges. Money isn't a more important energetic exchange than a hug or than love or than making food for someone. I mean, those are all sacred energetic exchanges. Yeah. But we put a lot of premium on money in this culture. And you know for yourself, I mean, if I said, oh, there's a, yoga class and it's $6 around the corner, we might go and we might have a fine time. But if I said, okay, there's a yoga class and it's $700, like, it would be like a thing, and you would show up and you would like listen really closely and talk about it for months. And like, it would have a much bigger impact on you. Same class.
Yeah.
Different price point, totally different consumer experience.
Yeah. I'm like that with my athletic training. If I can't get myself committed unless I'm paying good money for a great coach.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to put in the time and the effort. And it's basically the same as what you're saying, whether that's health and wellness or anything else. You got to have that commitment. You got to see that money flowing out and getting value back, and having it actually force you to do something.
Well, exactly. And I do pretty well with the financial imperative. I mean, and sometimes I have clients who don't have a financial imperative. They have family money or...
Will you define that?
Yeah. So, I mean, my business had to make money because it had to buy groceries or there would be no food. Like there was no budget. There was no safety net. There was nothing. So it had to work.
Right.
It had to work. I couldn't quit until the money came in the door because there was no fallback position.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm really glad about that, because the clients I have who do have a little bit of a nest egg, or who got a big severance package, or who have a supportive spouse. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love all those things. I'm all in favor of it. And it can be really beautiful to start your business with a certain spirit of play and exploration, of like, without putting the financial pressure on it, of like, okay, I can just kind of figure out what I'm up to here a little bit. But on the other hand, sometimes I see them stall and delay and make excuses and hide, and I'm just going to redesign the logo one more time.
So I love that you said that. Redo the logo one more time, because one of your favorite topics, and I don't know if you talked about it in Get It Done, but I know it's one of the key topics in your upcoming book, is perfectionism. Can we talk about perfectionism? Because I think creatives and entrepreneurs.
Can you give me coaching on that?
Yeah, right. I'll tell you, I think perfectionism kills more dreams than critical parents and bad teachers and society. I think it kills more dreams than anything. And here's the sneaky thing about perfectionism, I think, is because it kind of sounds like a virtue. You can kind of convince yourself like, well, I would do this, except, if it weren't for my perfectionism, like I just want it to be perfect. And like, no one's going to criticize you on that, right? Because you're supposed to want things to be good and be perfect.
Right.
But what you're not getting, well, here, I'll give you the antidote. We'll just go right to the antidote, because everybody knows what the perfectionism is inside of their head. So here's my solution. Get a C. Get a C. Just quit trying to get an A+.
No.
I know. The apple polishers in the group are like breaking out in hives right now. But here's what I'm saying. Hear me out. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing with getting a C. First of all, you get a C by showing up and doing the work.
Yeah.
Show up, do the work. 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 Not by doing the work better than everybody else. Not by doing an extra credit project. Not by being the smart one in the front row with your hand up. Just show up, do the work. Second of all, your version of a C is pretty much everybody else's version of an A.
I love that.
Wow. Yeah, that's
you
so
may
true.
have noticed that already when you've put out something and you're like, about this, and everybody else is going, oh, you made this? Oh my God, this is amazing. You're incredible. Oh my God, And thirdly, if you get it out there and it really does need to be made more perfect, then you'll make it more perfect. Like those little Facebook memes, if it had turned out that my team was putting out ones that looked like crap or they were pulling bad quotes, well, then we would have figured out a new system.
Right.
But you can't fix it until there's something to fix.
That's where I get stuck because I'll, in my mind, I'm projecting into the future about whatever this is, tanking and failing in front of people and causing a customer to be upset or causing me to look bad. So it's that last one where I'm constantly stuck and I need to just put the blinders on literally to,
Well, yeah, and so what I sometimes say about that, Brad, is it's like, so you are letting an imaginary person in an imaginary future with an imaginary opinion about a project you haven't even started yet make the decision for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you're going to let imaginary people make your decisions for you, and I don't mind if you do, but why not imagine the person who loves what you're doing, who is starved for the information you have, who can't wait, who's standing there with their wallet, like eager to throw money at you, if only you would get your thing out into the world so they knew what it was.
Yeah.
That's a great way to look at it. It was interesting. I listen to the Tim Ferriss podcast quite a bit.
Love him.
Yeah, definitely. But he was talking about how we're naturally wired to solve big problems. And so our brains, if they don't see a problem, they make one. And I fall into that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so my nature is to put those problems out in front of me as, oh yeah, I got to solve this because otherwise a bear is going to chase me.
Right. I think that's true. I think the other thing, and I don't hear this discussed very much, but we're tribal animals. We're wired for the group. So other people's approval is important to us. Of course, we don't want to fail publicly. We don't want to be a burden. We don't want to be selfish. We want to contribute. We want to be well-liked. Like, that's not neuroses. That's survival.
Right.
Right? We know that if the group disapproves of us enough, we're out in an ice floe and it's all over. We cannot survive alone. Our animal brain knows this. So, of course, we're concerned about the good opinion of the group. But it's part of what I like to call a creative dichotomy, right? Where you have two things that are equally true at the same time.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, you super care about what everybody thinks and you really want everybody's approval. On the other hand, you genuinely could not give two figs what anybody thinks. You're going to do it your way and you don't even care, right? Both of these things are true at the same time.
Yeah.
So if you can move them closer together, and if you're watching, you can see me move my hands like there's energy between them, like those magnetic pigs that we played. What a dumb game that was. But they resist and then you flip them around and they go and they click together.
That's going in the show notes. Magnetic pigs. Yes. That's going in the show notes.
Exactly. Link to the Amazon. I'm sure you can still buy them. So if you imagine the energy field between these two contradictory things, like this is where a happy life is surfing the energy between these two ideas that seem to completely contradict each other and yet are equally true at the same time.
Nice.
So, another one might be, you really want things to be safe and normal and familiar. We don't want things to change. We want it to stay the same. On the other hand, we really crave things to be new and different and exciting.
Yeah.
And we want both of these things at the same time.
Yeah.
So the minute you start going like, oh, okay, it's not just that I'm letting my fear of judgment run the show, or I'm letting my desire to express myself and everybody else can go jump off a cliff, run the show. It's both of these things. It's the energy between both of these things. And this is why we figure out what our peers are charging so that we know what the market is, and we ignore that information.
Yeah.
Right? You know, we subscribe to everybody else's email list so we can see what they're doing.
And then we ignore it.
Yeah. Or we steal from the smart people. Like, oh, I'll take that one. That's very good. Thank you.
We swipe.
Steal from the smart people.
I love it. So I love this conversation, and I want to go back to, I can't remember if we talked about this at the beginning of the show or before the show, it doesn't matter. But let's talk about creativity, because it's one of the things that connects you and I, one of the topics that we're really passionate about. And you work with a lot of artists. Your company is called The Organized Artist, but you don't only work with artists. So tell me a little bit about the role that creativity plays, I think, in your life personally and in your business.
Yeah, so I think everybody's a creative genius. Not everybody is artistic.
Right.
In the same way that not everybody is musical.
Right.
But everybody's a creative genius. Everybody has a way of solving problems, or a way of looking at the world, or a way of handling situations that is completely unique to them. So yes, if you've ever solved a problem differently than anybody else has ever solved that problem, congratulations, you are a creative genius. So I don't limit or restrict who I work with at all. But I do notice that there's a lot. The whole reason I wrote Get It Done, the whole reason I created the Organized Artist Company in some ways, was because there's a ton of stuff out there, and I was always buying these books and reading them about how to be more efficient and how to set goals and how to, organize your paper and your stuff. And but creative people don't really care who's moved our cheese.
No.
Like, we're not going to the same office every day. We're not solving the same problems every day. We don't have the same structure. And, we've got a lot of diseases that other people don't have. We got sparkly thing, we've got perfectionism, we've got, there's other things going on. Yeah. And then there are all these creativity books out there, but they were a lot about spiritual healing through creativity, or healing your inner creative, or unleashing your inner creative. And I'm like, no, we're plenty unleashed.
Yeah.
The unleashing is not the issue. It's just, how do you manage it when, and I just feel like nobody's talking to these people.
Yeah.
Like I said, they got a ton of talents and skills. I've never met a single disciplinary artist.
Yeah.
Every artist I know is like, well, I play bass guitar, but I've also written a few books, and I do poetry, and I do stained glass on the weekends. And, I guess I'm kind of a gourmet cook, I guess,
Yeah. I resemble that remark.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? Exactly.
1,000 ideas.
Yes.
Yeah. And it can confuse other people, because other people are like, well, you should just focus on one thing. And I totally got to call bullshit. I think people who like to focus on one thing should focus on one thing. And those of us who like to focus on several things should focus on several things. Yeah. At the same time, I think it's also important for us to look for opportunities to bring our creative talents together.
Yeah.
Like, it was a big moment for me when I stopped believing that the only part of my creativity that mattered was acting. It was a little like, only acting matters, only acting matters, only acting matters. And I would get writing gigs and teaching gigs. And I was like, yeah, but those don't count.
Yeah.
Those don't count.
Right.
And as soon as I realized, no, it's all the same artist.
Yeah.
The person who teaches is the same as the person who's an actor, is the same as the person who does needlepoint, is the same as the person who cooks, is the same as the person who makes, writes little quotable things.
Right.
Like, same art, same artist, same art.
Yeah. And that integration piece, I think, is so important, because I think that when you integrate all of your gifts into one model that really serves the world and helps you create impact, it helps you really overcome overwhelm. And I know overwhelm is another one of those topics that you work on a lot with your clients. So, and I know you have some secret ninja tips around overwhelm.
I do. And I want to go back to something else you were sort of alluding to that I think is important, because sometimes people ask me like, oh, how do you find time for your creative projects? Or, oh, does it bum you out that you don't have more time for acting now? And I'm like, I perceive my whole business to be an art project. Yeah. There isn't a part of it that doesn't feel like a creative endeavor to me. Even doing the accounting and the bookkeeping and the admin and stuff, I love that stuff. And I do it I write out my budget on a legal pad every month, like with fancy pens, and it's an art project, my budget.
Perfect.
So I want to underline that for people. Like, there isn't once you start understanding that your creativity is part of your whole person, that it is part of God expressing through you as you. It's part of your divine mission on the planet is to make stuff and to think about things differently. Then nothing is excluded from that. There is no part of that that is not creative and sacred. Really.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. Sorry. I transitioned in January. I transitioned, as you know, from 20 years in corporate doing software. And I was in software because I'm good at it. But it was always an opportunity to create and use my head to create things. And so I transitioned to a whole new world, right? I'm doing digital marketing. I'm actually starting the network. Yes, Brad, getting out of the house, network.
Out of the house.
Business cards. But I think of all the things that I do as creative things. Creativity can come through writing marketing copy. Someone who can write good marketing copy, which I can't yet, maybe not for a long time. They're like a God level creation person.
Well, this is why creatives are so good at business, and nobody ever talks about this, because all marketing is great storytelling.
Yep. So true. And it's why inside our programs, inside the Path to Profit Academy, everything is visual.
Yeah.
Everything we do is visual. We bring that artistic element, whether it's your business plan, your marketing plan, your customer avatar. I loved what you said about doing your budget with colorful pens and sparkly glitter markers and whatever, sticky notes in every color of the rainbow. Because if we don't add that element of play to the parts that are hard, we're never going to get them done, because then we're like, oh, it's not creative, I don't want to do it. And so I love that perspective of just pulling our creative gifts and applying them to every single aspect of our business. So I think you just hit the nail on the head. I really love that perspective.
Totally. And it goes to what you were asking about too, about overwhelm.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people say they're overwhelmed when genuinely they're underwhelmed. They're actually just, they've got the pants bored off them. Like, oh, I've got all this paperwork to do. I'm so overwhelmed. So you're not overwhelmed. You're disinterested.
Yeah.
That's a totally different thing.
I'm laughing because that feels like a conversation I've had with my kids when my daughter, she'd say she's frustrated or, they're just bored, right? Most of the challenges that come in the classroom, everything come from they're just bored. They're not being creatively stimulated. Right.
So, so how could you make it more interesting? How could, add a zero, like grow the decimal point, like, instead of trying to find 10 new clients, try to find 1,000 new clients, 10,000, 100,000. What does that do to your thinking? Like, where do you spark to? That's some of it. Sometimes I think there's just a real glorification of overwhelm and busy happening.
Yes, exactly. It's just like the cult of busy. I say it's become a cult and a badge of courage and honor that people wear. I'm too busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. And it just creates that clutter in our mind of there's no spaciousness for creativity.
Exactly. And that busy poker. Oh, you think you're busy? Well, here's how busy I am, right? and I hear this all the time.
Busy. One time I was so busy.
and I hear this all the time. Like, oh, you wrote a book. Oh, I would love to write a book. I just don't have the time. I'm like, I don't get this. I don't have the time. I don't get this. Because last time I checked, we all got the same 24 hours.
Yeah.
Everybody gets the same amount of time. Nobody gets more time. I didn't get any of yours. You didn't get any of mine. We all get the same amount of time. So you have the time. You are just spending it on other things.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
She's got that in her book. She's got this, her time management book where one of the exercises is the time audit.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to let people know what my time audit results were. It's just kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's amazing how much time we'll spend on everything else.
Except for our money-making activities. Those are always the ones that seem to magically fall to the bottom of the to-do list.
A friend of mine put up a little Facebook meme the other day and said, oh, it must be time to write because suddenly the housework seems really important.
I like that. And speaking of writing, will you tell us about your new book? I'm so excited for you. I know it's like at the publisher already. It's done. From your perspective, it's done until it hits the shelves. So tell us about it.
Yeah. So it's called Start Right Where You Are, and I'm pleased. I'm excited. I'm a little apprehensive. It's in some ways a little more self-revealing than my first book.
Cool.
It's very short chapters, so it's meant to be very digestible, very like the kind of thing you could pick up, read a couple pages, put down. You could almost read it in any order. Very practical. And in some ways, it's almost a prequel to Get It Done, because Get It Done is a very practical kind of book. It really is about how to manage, how to decide which project you want to do, how to manage your projects, how to promote your projects, how to deal with time and budget. And there is some inner game stuff there, but I realized that I'd kind of left out half of the story. Because I can give you all the tools and strategies in the world, but if it's not actually okay with you that you creatively express, if it's not actually okay with you that you show up for yourself in your life, then nothing I tell you is going to make any difference.
Yeah.
So it's about, so there are some very practical things like get your cell phone out of the bedroom. Get your cell phone out of the bedroom.
The net here.
Get it out of the bedroom. And I know you've got teenagers, so there's that like, what if they call in the middle of the night? Fine, leave it by the door of the bedroom. Just get it away from your bed.
Yeah.
Because this waking up time, especially for the creative person, but for everybody, is so important. Like, let yourself wake up. Let yourself stretch and cuddle and greet the day and have those weird liminal thoughts that you have waking up when your critical brain isn't quite engaged yet. You put things together. Your dream logic is still sort of going. Like, give yourself that minute before you slam yourself into the internet and the email and who needs what and giving over your agenda to everyone. Like, claiming even just those couple of minutes of just breathing and, oh, hello, day. Like that moment when you're not necessarily anybody. You're not the person that they need you to be at work. You're not the mom they need you to be. You're not the partner that your partner needs you to be. Like, you're just you, like you were when you were a little kid. Like, oh, in this 25 seconds, my identity is just me, and I could be anyone.
I love how you describe that. For me, that's, they always talk about how every day is a new opportunity to rewrite anything. And you're describing exactly that. Now after that, you've got the 30 minutes of existential dread where you worry about everything that you forgot about. But yeah, you are that person in that first 25 seconds or whatever. And it's, yeah. I love that you're talking about not necessarily celebrating it, but just realizing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, letting it happen at all. And I would replace the 30 minutes of existential dread, because I've tried that technique too. I've tried the existential dread. I've also tried the despair, cynicism, and pessimism.
Yep.
It didn't work so great for me. I mean, it was a strong strategy for a long time, but in the end, it didn't work out so great. And I say 15 minutes a day, first thing on the projects that matter most to you. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's even before you get out of bed. And whether that's prayer and meditation time or writing time or doodling time or just daydreaming time, like taking that time for yourself. I guarantee you there is nothing happening out there that cannot wait another 15 minutes while you do your thing. And I know that feeling, and there's a lot of stuff about self-care in the book, which is a big, that word gets thrown around a lot, and I understand that knee-jerk reaction of like, well, but that would be selfish. They need me. That would be selfish. No. You walking around exhausted, stressed out, underfed, underslept, creatively nourished, with no sense of humor, that's selfish. Because the rest of us have to deal with you when you're like that.
That's the truth.
Right? And you are not fun. On the other hand, when you take that 15 minutes, when you go for a walk, when you have a good meal, when you when you're fed and rested and meditated and, walked and cuddled.
Meditated, not medicated.
Whatever works. I don't have an objection to medication, but, yes, meditated, medicated, whatever. Like, then you can show up for your work fully. Like, you can actually pay attention in the meeting. You can actually listen and have ideas. You can actually respond to your children. You can actually have fun cooking dinner, or, do a cabaret show during your commute. I used to do an entire show on the 405 when I lived in LA.
I want to see that someday.
One of these days, Fred. One of these days. That's where the tequila comes in.
Now we know the secret. So one of the things that I know that you're really passionate about is just helping people get unstuck. And you talk about how we really get stuck in emotional quicksand. Regret, fear, sorrow. I know, again, you've got some really creative ways of helping people move through that place.
Yeah, there's one that I think is really super easy and incredibly effective, which is whenever you find yourself, really just emotionally stuck. Like your brain understands that you shouldn't be feeling this way, but you are, right? Make some 5-minute art about it.
Yeah.
Even 2 minutes,
strategies.
2 minutes, and just draw a picture of what it looks like to feel like no one's ever going to love you, or like everyone's going to laugh at your work, or like you're going to die alone and lonely in a house with 13 cats, or whatever it is that's dry, that sorrow that you have, that's maybe left from childhood, or something about your parents, or that thing that mean kid said on the playground in the 3rd grade. I mean, we all have that stuff around. I think sometimes we look at other people and think, oh, other people aren't suffering in this way. No, they are.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they are. So, and if you don't want to draw it, do a little dance about it, or make up a little song about it, because feelings just want to be felt.
Yeah.
And when they know they've been felt, when you've externalized them, you can move through them. The energy gets released and it can be used in other ways. I had a client one time who was feeling really oppressed about money and had a lot of worry and concern on her mind. And I said, make some 5-minute art about it. And she drew this big black bird on a piece of paper. And it was just like this big black scrawl kind of. And it wasn't until she looked at it that she realized how sad and angry she was.
Right.
Like it had all been going to oh, I'm overwhelmed. Oh, I'm confused. Oh, I don't know. But really what was underneath there was sadness and anger.
Yeah.
Well, once you get that out a little bit, all of a sudden things get a lot lighter, and it's a lot easier to solve the money problem. It's a lot easier. I had a client one time, I was doing one of my 3-day events, and this woman raised her hand and she goes, Sam, I hear you say this, make some art about it all the time. And she's like, I don't really know what you mean. And I said, right. I said, so if you were to make a little song right now about not knowing what I mean, what it feels like to not know what I mean, what would that be? And she goes, I don't get it. 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 And the whole room fell out. It was so cute and funny. And she's moving her head back and forth in this little tick-tock. I don't get it. I don't get it. And and then she goes, I get it.
That's awesome.
Right? All of a sudden she took that feeling, and we've all had that feeling of everybody's understanding something that I'm not understanding. Yeah. That shut down, afraid feeling, and it turned it into something that we could all share and comment on. And I still sing that little song to myself sometimes. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
I love it. That's an awesome one.
Right?
I love that. It reminds me. So my first coaching certification was as a parent coach, and one of my favorite classes and books was based on the work of a woman named Pam Leo called Connection Parenting. And she always described children as they have this little chalice inside of them that gets filled up. And we always wonder why when our kids come home at the end of the day and they've been these perfect angels all day and they fall apart when they get home, it's because you're their safe place. And as we become adults, I realized we don't have the safe place to empty our chalice. And when it gets too full, then we explode, we snap at people. And when we don't fully allow ourselves to feel our emotions, they get stored in our body. They get stored in our neck and our shoulders and our back pain and our hip pain. And so art is an amazing process to help us just empty that cup a little bit, because when it's empty, then there's room for all the beautiful emotions to come in as well.
I could bring a guy perspective to that.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, 48 years of hiding from those and not dealing with those emotions. I don't deal with those things well anyways, but I love that you were talking about this idea of putting a structure around dealing with those emotions. So you're talking about making art related to it, whether it's a fun song or actually writing. I didn't have any structure to put around dealing with those older emotions. was fortunate that a coach pointed me at a book called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers by Debbie Ford. And I read that book, and we were talking about this the other day because it was literally life-changing, because it gave me and this wasn't art, this was a meditative process, but it gave me the opportunity.
And journaling. That's art.
And journaling.
Yeah.
It gave me the opportunity to have a structure around dealing with those emotions in a personal way. It didn't need to be a group thing or something. So I totally get what you're talking about in terms of people don't necessarily have a mechanism. They're not trained. I certainly am not trained in dealing with those things. And
right, and it's a very simple process. I mean, it's amazing how quickly this stuff, stuff that's years old, that stuff that you thought would never get resolved, like all of a sudden 5 minutes later, you're like, wow, I feel a lot better. It's just like being able to look at it and go, okay, it sort of normalizes it. Like, okay, I get it. That's sadness and anger, of course. Like, I can deal with that. And here's just, since it is Path to Profit, here's the big PS on all this. Not only are you sort of clearing yourself out so you can show up more fully, more emotionally available, you're less afraid of other people's emotions, like you're not, that feelings won't actually kill you. They just feel like they might. So it makes you a better leader, right? You can hold the space better for other people. Yeah. But also all that fear and anxiety and sadness and desire for love and desire to be accepted and fear of being misunderstood, all of that is existing in your clients as well.
Yeah.
So when you can really understand and put an image or a name or a symbol to that, and you may be selling them shoes or a coaching program or a book or whatever. And yes, there's the logical reasons why they might be interested in your thing, of course. But when you can combine that with a little bit of emotional comprehension to say, look, I get it that this is scary.
Yeah.
I get it that you may be afraid. I understand. I too have had this concern around wearing these kinds of shoes or reading this kind of book or investing in this kind of program. And you're not alone in your fear.
That's that authenticity. We were discussing this earlier. And if you haven't dealt with those emotions, you can't bring 100% authenticity. If you haven't integrated all the different artistic qualities that you have, you can't bring that authenticity. And it shows up in your marketing messaging. It shows up when you speak to people, and
it shows up in your bank balance.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
100%. Whatever you're hiding from, I guarantee you, that's hiding the money too.
Yeah.
Ooh, I just thought of that. That's good. Whatever you're hiding from is also hiding. That's where the money is hiding behind.
Yeah.
We're going to have that on Facebook right away.
I know.
Right?
I love that.
Yeah.
So, Sam, I know you have a free gift for everybody today.
I do. And you'll have to tell me what the website is because I don't remember what it is.
I downloaded it.
Did you?
This is theorganizedartistcompany.com/roadmap to success.
There you go. Okay. So, and what it is it's the Procrastination Domination Starter Kit. It's two of my most never fail exercises. The whole thing is not very long. It might be half an hour, maybe a little more than that. But it's got two exercises. One to help you figure out which of your 137 ideas you should be working on right now.
Awesome.
Squirrel. Squirrel. Exactly. And the second exercise has to do with dealing with compliments and criticisms, both the ones inside of your own head and the ones from outside of your own head.
Nice.
Because the criticisms are terrifying, but sometimes the compliments are worse.
Yeah, I love it. And we will make sure that we put the link to that in the show notes. But again, that was organizedartist.com/roadmap to success. All one word. And so Sam and I do a lot of the same things and are so connected on so many levels. And I love that your free gift is the same as our event subtitle as well, because it is a roadmap, right? It's part of being on that path to success, whether that's a profitable business, big impact, a nonprofit that's supporting lots of people. It's a journey. It's not
she pulled it because that's the name of your event. That's why that's your own special.
Oh, it's my own special URL.
That's your own special URL. Yeah.
Nice.
So the Organized Artist Company, all the way spelled out, and then /road.com/roadmap to success. If you have any trouble with it, just ping me or ping Minette and we'll get it to you. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's like so much of what I do. It's really easy and has big impact. So
I so appreciate that. Like if I had to say what my big takeaway from, because we're coming to the end of our time here, if I had to say what my biggest takeaway was from our conversation today, it was ease and simplicity. And it's not that any of these things are really challenging to do. It's just making the time to actually do them and to remember it doesn't have to be hard. I think part of that perfectionism story comes from that space of we think it's going to be harder than it is every time. And so I so appreciated all of the insights you shared today. I appreciated you taking time out of what I know is a really full schedule to share your creative genius with us here on the Path to Profit podcast today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm so happy to. I love you guys, and thanks everybody for listening.
We want roast chicken.
Yeah. I have one question for you.
Yeah.
Do you have a book tour coming up? Are you going to tour it, or is it?
I'm going to do a couple of book signings. I've got one in LA in November. I've got one in Santa Barbara in January, and I think one in up in the Bay Area in January as well. So we'll have dates for that. The website's not quite done yet, but it will be. StartRightWhereYouAre.com. We'll have all the information about the book, and it's available even for pre-order right now. Even
nice.
Whoop, whoop. I'm going to go pre-order mine now.
Yay!
I'll put the link to that in the show notes.
Yeah. You can put your Amazon link in there, or Barnes and Noble or whatever. But yeah. So there may be more if I get enough demand. Who knows? Maybe I'll come to your town.
Nice.
Super cool.
Thank
I love
you,
that.
Sam.
And then everybody that's listening, just before we close, we do have our next Path to Profit Summit coming up here in Santa Barbara, September 23rd to 25th of 2016. It's going to be right on the beach. So not only will you spend 3 amazing days working on a visual perspective of tapping into really what it is that you want to create for your business and how to get there, making a profit all along the way.
Yeah.
I've been there. I know what it feels like to be broke and busted and working so hard and nothing to show for it. And I also know that perfectionist and the procrastinator, they're all parts of all of us. So I want to thank Sam for her tips. And I want to invite all of you to come and play with me here, and Brad, play with us here in Santa Barbara, California. And again, you can find out more at pathtoprofitacademy.com/summit.
Nice. Thanks again, Sam.
You bet. Thanks, everybody.
Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, just stop the recording.
Oh, I did the wrong
Just
thing.
cancel.
Cancel. Oh, nice.